Complete filter service on the Lexus IS220D. This is the full service kit, which totalled just over £90, even with premium oil. So I've only fitted OE premium parts and premium oil, so you may be able to get the full service kit a bit cheaper. I'm going to start with the fuel filter, as this appears to be the most difficult part of the service. It is underneath the rear of the car, above the diff, which is probably one of the worst ones I've seen. So I've got the car jacked up and on axle stands at the rear. That isn't a jacking point, it's just I've left the jack there just in case, and I've jacked up off this beam here. So that is a safe jacking point in the centre of the car. So the fuel filter is just there, above the left-hand drive shaft. To remove two 10mm nuts to get this cover out of the way. And I think the next part will depend on how much you're struggling to remove the filter. So it looks like there are two, or supposed to be two, bolts holding the housing underneath the car. But I have noticed that the plastic ring that I need to undo the filter does actually move on this car. Easier with two hands though. So because I'm able to move this, I may be able to manage with the whole assembly in situ. So I want a container ready under the car to catch the fuel when it drops out. It's going to be a bit difficult while lying under the car to get out of the way. We'll see what we can do. As far as I can tell, that's should mean that the filter will come off now. So you can see that's come loose. I'll drop this down. Oh. So, and out behind the drive shaft, just about fits. So I've ended up with diesel all over me, but it dropped down through this gap here behind the drive shaft. So that's the filter part of the assembly. new O-ring for the case. So what we possibly could do is fit this to the car first and then screw the housing on afterwards. Although this doesn't actually screw on, it just pushes up into position, and then the ring that we took off first clamps it up there. So taking the new filter up behind the drive shaft, push it up into the housing. And then refit the securing ring. Now, as you will have seen, the filter was completely empty. On a lot of cars, cycling the ignition primes the fuel system. So it starts the lift pump in the tank and fills up the filter. Now, I can't hear it going on this car. Well, that's not to say it isn't filling it up. So it may be that a little bit of cranking is required to get the car started after doing the filter, but we'll see. Right, so straight up, put some revs on, because this will be fuel that's already in the system. Right. Try not to crank for more than 10 seconds at a time, because you can burn out the starter motor. There we go. Must have been about 30 seconds of cranking total. So as long as that isn't in one go, that's perfectly fine to do. If you do experience any hunting or misfiring for a while after changing the filter, that is perfectly normal on most cars. And finally, before refitting the little plastic cover, just go under the car and make sure that the housing isn't leaking. Now moving on to the oil and filter. We've got a 14mm sump plug. We'll leave that to drain for as long as we can. The oil filter is underneath the car, behind this panel here, 3 10mm bolts. That's the oil filter housing. So the filter housing is a really awkward type that seems to be individual to Toyota and Lexus. I've just about managed to undo it with this chain tool. It's a homemade thing, and it has just managed to undo it, fortunately. Rather a lot of oil in the filter housing. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if it's suggesting that this is supposed to screw into the filter, but I don't think that this was part of the one that I've just removed. might be an option. Replace the O-ring on the housing. There doesn't appear to be any need for this plastic part. I don't know if this is for particular models, but it wasn't fitted to this car on the filter that we just removed. Now, with it being a metal filter housing and top, very unlikely to crack it, and there doesn't appear to be a torque setting on it, so you just tighten it until it won't go any further. And these were parallel with the floor. So I'm actually managed to tighten this all the way by hand. So now I'm going to clean it off, and we'll fit the new sump plug to 38 newton meters. So the new sump plug appears to come with two different types of sump washer. This one looks more like the one that came off. It definitely wasn't metal. So I'm going to try this one. So refit this and tighten to 38 newton meters. Now to top up the oil. So from what was drained out, it was just under 6 litres. The capacity is showing as 6 litres. So got this 5W30 C2. So with 6 litre capacity, we can just stick a full 5 litre bottle straight in, if it'll go down quick enough. Okay, it won't take it very quickly, so you have to be careful pouring it in. And once you've got all that, the full 5 litres in, add another 0.8, 0.7 litres, and then you can try starting the car. Make sure you replace the filler cap. We'll start and run the car until it warms up a bit, and then we'll switch it off for 10 minutes to get a level reading off the dipstick. While the car's warming up, just go underneath and check the filter and sample for leaks. happy that there aren't any leaks, then refit the cover and take the car off the axle stands. Not very easy to read dipstick on this. It does look to be at the max mark, so the upper of the two dots that you can see on here. It's not very clear. But if you can tell, you want it between this mark and closer to this mark if you can. Now for the air filter, which unfortunately requires removing a daft amount of plastic. The air box is just under here, but it's overlapped by both these panels, and technically to remove this one you need to remove this one, although it does slide out, so you could possibly get away with just removing this one, but this one obscures the airbox quite a bit, so you've got to pull all these clips out in order to remove this panel here, and then 3 up here. There are 4 clips on the airbox. No, if you peel the plastic. You take it out of the bag. Just rip the bag. Yeah.
How do you do it? That's hard.
Finally, the cabin filter. So go in the glove box. Take this piece out of the way. I don't think that's not showing direction of airflow, that's showing the way up that the filter should be. It looks like you actually just replace the paper part. So yeah. So yeah, someone's actually fitted this filter the wrong way around because they've copied that. So the direction of airflow is actually down, I believe. To reset the service light on the Lexus IS, make sure that the mileage is showing on the odometer by pressing this button here. Turn the ignition off, press and hold this button and turn the ignition back on. So the countdown will start. And then that's the service light and interval reset.